Welcome to Stress Management and Counseling Services. We'll be talking about how to manage stress. I'm Bunny Ott. I'm one of the counselors at the Student Health and Counseling Services. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist.
And my name is Rukiya. I am an associate counselor who is a associate clinical social worker. And you can also call me Ru.
And you can call me Bunny. So we're going to talk real quick about stress. And I really like this visual diagram that describes stress. It's a Yerkes-Dodson diagram that sort of describes how stress can be a good thing in our lives. So sometimes if we don't have any stress, then it keeps us inactive. So sometimes a little bit of stress is good in our lives to keep us going, to keep us moving, to keep us like doing the things that we need to do. And and so sometimes it's helpful to see stress that way and to recognize when we start to move beyond this curve to the point of too much stress and overload. That's when our functioning and our performance goes down. And then we could see in this diagram how it turns to anxiety or panic or anger or burnout. So we have to be able to be aware of our stress and manage the overload of our stress. So I think, again, remembering that stress in and of itself is not all bad, but when it's overloaded, it could be hard for us and unhealthy for us and lead to anxiety.
And so stress symptoms can affect your body, your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And knowing signs of stress can help you manage them. And so some of the physical signs of stress, as noted here on the slide, is sweating, fatigue, increased heartbeat, stomach ache and headaches and tiredness, and some emotional signs. You could be crying or sadness or feeling overwhelmed or easily to set off like you anger easily. Some behavioral signs could be like a change in your appetite, sleep, maybe you want to be left alone, isolation, loss of interest in activities that you normally do, are all signs of stress. Now, this list is it could be more, so it's not limited to this list because it changes or it looks different in everybody and every individual.
Yeah. So it's helpful to know what your signs of stress are and just kind of thinking about kind of what that means for you, whether it's physically or emotionally or behaviorally, and think about kind of, oh, I think I'm doing this and that, and that's I think a sign that I'm overstressed and that I might be going over that curve. So we wanted to just kind of talk about common sources of stress, which are typical for students that we work with. And some of them are role conflict or overload. We find ourselves like in so many different kind of roles, whether we're a student and we're working and we're a family member, we're a friend, we're a partner, we're a parent, we're a member of a club, we're doing all these things, we're holding all these things, and sometimes it's overload for us. So it's thinking about kind of what is important for us, how do we prioritize, how do we understand our role? And then sometimes it's communication challenges or conflicts. We get a lot of that in our offices when people are dealing with conflict. It's very stressful, and things at home could be stressful, and then things with a partner can be stressful. So a lot of communication breakdown or challenges can be a contributor just to our stress. Transitions, whether it's coming to college and kind of learning a new way of being here on campus, or making new friends, or even just smaller transitions of like getting a new job, or summers, all those kinds of things can be stressful and part of our overload of stress. Even if it is good things that we're transitioning into, sometimes those also can be another thing to change and something new to figure out. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Also, unrealistic expectations for ourselves. We often get that in our offices as well, where we have students who really are wanting things that are maybe just unrealistic for their season of life, or thinking that you should be able to do 6 million things all at once, when we're recognizing that we're human. And so maybe we don't have that capacity as much as we thought we did. So that sometimes can be a contributor to our stress. Losing our sense of purpose. Again, thinking about, why are we here? What's the purpose of all the stressors that we are taking on? And why do we have, what's the meaning kind of behind the things that we do and that we hold on to? And so sometimes it's helpful to really kind of recenter ourselves into our purpose. And then sometimes common source of stress is conflict between serving others and caring for ourselves. So sometimes we lose our self-care. We're going to talk about that in the next slide, but sometimes we lose that when we're always kind of trying to give to others or serving in some position or, doing our work, and we're not thinking about how are we caring up for ourselves. So sometimes that's another cause of stress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so some tips for managing those stressors that we just discussed is to catch the stress before it becomes overwhelming. And as we talked about in a previous slide, some of those physical, emotional, and behavioral symptoms that we all experience when we're under stress. So just kind of observing yourself and observing how you feeling, you can catch the stress and kind of manage it before it takes shape. And another way that we could manage stress is creating regular habits of taking care of ourselves. So self-care is not selfish. So sometimes we have to prioritize our needs before others. And we can do that by exercising. Something as simple as exercising, taking a walk, enjoying nature, going outdoors, listening to music, journaling, um, talking to someone and writing a letter. I know for me as a student and a working student, balancing school and work, the workload of homework and of working was very stressful at times for me. And some of the things that I did, as I just mentioned, is taking a walk. That really helped to regulate my physical symptoms, and I was able to change my mind about how I was feeling and approach work in school in a relaxed state. So, and this is something that you guys can do as well. If you're
Mhm.
feeling overwhelmed or you're feeling stressed.
There's a lot of creative things we can do with with our self-care, right? There are a lot of meditation and prayer, giving back, um, journaling, organizing, kind of thinking about boundary setting and relational things that we can do to help us self take care of ourselves as well. I really like this cup visual of you can't pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself first. So remembering that self-care is not selfish. That would when we do take care of ourselves, we're able to have the capacity to care for others and to be able to function well.
Mm-hmm. Also consider how you are talking about yourself, your self talk. I know sometimes school is overwhelming, taking tests and exams, and if you didn't do as well on the exam, you might think that you're a failure, and then you might say that I'm a failure. You might tell yourself that over and over again that you are a failure, but you are not a failure, and sometimes we don't do good on exams, but that doesn't mean that you can't change that. So you have the opportunity to change how you talk about yourself. So instead of saying I'm a failure, you could say, I'll do better next time, or I'll take some different precautions. Um, Maybe talk to the professor, maybe do like a study group or something like that. So you can always change your circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really important to reflect and to take a moment of just kind of considering how we talk to ourselves and what's the message that we tell ourselves in our brain that we don't always even think about. So that kind of failure narrative that you talk about, Rue, I think it's important to think about, are we going in that direction? Are we able to kind of catch ourselves and be able to say, actually, I'm not a failure. I'm just, struggling in this area, and it's okay. So kind of, again, going to that next point that we talking about practicing self-acceptance or acceptance around the things that the circumstances that we're in. Sometimes stressful circumstances happen and it's harder than we thought, and it's okay. It's part of our journey, right? It's part of our learning. And when we zoom out a little bit, we can see kind of the purpose of it or the ways that we learn from it, or we can see it in a different light.
Right. And that leads us to considering, your boundaries. Sometimes we prioritize other people, like we talked about before. So sometimes you may have to say no if it's not, serving you. And that's okay because you're prioritizing your mental health, your well-being, and managing stress. Because sometimes people, family, friends, loved ones can add to our stress, and at times we may have to say no. You know, and that's just another way to manage stress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing I would just mention real quick too is to be thinking about basics of life. Kind of, we're talking about walking, exercise, sort of sleep. I think is a really big one. Getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep, that really helps to manage the stress in our lives, and then staying hydrated and taking care of ourselves bodily, like eating, exercising, that sort of thing, can be really helpful to remember as we're thinking about management of stress.
Hmm. Yeah, so take a second to think about what you can do to take care of yourself this week. And if you have some problems coming up with some ideas, we do have online self-care resources that are available to you. There is a QR code here, and you can scan that, and it'll take you to our website where we have some self-help videos. We have a link that can give you some ideas on pleasant activities to help you reduce stress. And we have online wellness where if you enjoy reading, you can use that as a self-care practice. Reading is very relaxing. Um, you have a list of books and articles that you can refer to that talks about self-care, self-help, you know, things of that nature.
And then we wanted to put a plug in for our services at Student Health and Counseling Services, because it's a great place to go for stress management, for tools, for ways to find support as you're struggling with different, holding different things. So we are free. It's covered through the payment that you pay in the beginning of the year. So we're free and professional and confidential. And we do provide telehealth appointments as well as in-person appointments. And we have same day appointments available to students. Um, and we also have crisis available as well. Um, and counseling, we wanted to just mention that it is a brief model of therapy that we provide. And we're here to address, immediate concerns that you're struggling with. And it's a place to process those emotions as well as help develop strategies. And we generally offer 3 to 5 individual sessions, and then your counselor will make a plan with you for additional support. So it is a brief model.
Mhm. Yeah, and I just want to reiterate that the counseling sessions are confidential and not a part of your academic record. So this is a space where you can address any, concerns that that you would like to talk about. And as Bunny mentioned, we offer individual, group, and couples sessions. So if you and your partner attend Cal State East Bay, then you can essentially, if you like, could have a couples therapy to work through any relationship dynamics that you would like to discuss. And the educational workshops we offer, various topics, anxiety, depression, um, things of that nature.
And then we want to talk just briefly about our group counseling. So sometimes students don't really know much about group counseling. I think that's in the next slide. And so we wanted to make sure that you knew the details of that. So it's information is on our webpage and you can sign up and register through the health portal. We run groups and workshops throughout the school year. And again, they're usually focused on things like their psychoeducational groups focus on like anxiety, depression, coping, healthy relationships, and that sort of thing. So we provide spaces for you to learn skills and also to develop relationships with peers. And they're a great way to build, community as well as strengthening wellness. And our groups are changing each semester. And so we would really encourage you to check our website for that information about groups or ask your counselor.
Yes. So if you like to schedule an appointment with us, there's many ways that you can schedule an appointment online through your health portal. You can scan this QR code. You can email us, call us at the number listed here. And as Bunny mentioned, we have a crisis line called Protocol, and it is available after hours, so after 5 o'clock. If you need someone to talk to, then here's the number, and give them a call.
So yeah, we would love to see you, and we're available for you to support you. Um, and there is a website that you can look at, like the counselors, and you can research that too if you're interested in a particular kind of counseling or counselor. So you can connect with us. This is the information, the QR code, and we do have an Instagram handle, so you're welcome to follow us as well. So yeah, hope you enjoy the talk about managing stress, and we're glad you were here to listen.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for listening.
Take care.